In this video, I'm going to show you how to create the slide layers associated with the step 3 slide. So let's just review briefly what we did for step 3 for the main screen here. So we copied in the text boxes that are going to show up when the timeline hits certain cue points. We copied in the tip box, the avatar, and the buttons, and we changed the state of step 3 to the selected state. So now let's create 2 slide layers. So I'm going to go up here to Insert, Slide Layer, and then I'm going to hit it again to create the second slide layer. And then go down to the bottom right-hand corner, and we're going to rename this. So this process is very similar to the step 2 slide layers, where we're going to have one slide layer is for throwing 2 balls this time, and the other slide layer is for the tip box here to show the additional text. So I'm going to rename these right now. So right-click, Rename. That's tip 2. And then this one is going to be throw 2 balls. All right. And now I'm going to go back to step 2. So go over to the side here. And I'm just going to click on step 2 there. And I'm going to copy this hotspot that we created in the step 2 screen, because we can reuse some elements that we create on other slides. And I'm going to go back to step 3, and then I'm going to go to the main screen here, and I'm going to paste that hotspot over the tip box. There we go. And now I'm going to set a trigger here for this so that it will show the tip 2 slide layer when someone mouses over this tip box here. Okay, so go up to the right here and click on Create New Trigger. And the action is going to be to show layer tip 2 when the user mouse hovers over hotspot 1. And this box here, which I didn't talk about in the previous video about these hotspots, but this is usually defaulted and it says restore on mouse leave. So what that means is that when you mouse over the tip box, when you move the mouse back over the main screen, the additional text that shows up will go away. So this is just so that it shows only when the mouse is hovering over this tip box here. Click OK. So we just created the trigger for the hotspot over the tip box to show the tip 2 layer, but there already was a trigger there because we copied that in from the previous slide, so we can just delete that out. We could have edited it, but I chose to show you how to just do that again from scratch. So just delete that because we don't need that one now. And now we're going to create another trigger for the throw 2 balls slide layer. So go over to Insert a New Trigger, Show Layer, throw 2 balls when the timeline starts. And the object's just this slide here. Okay, so now let's go to the tip 2 slide layer. So here we are. And I'm going to go back to step 2 again. I'm going to copy the tip 1 box. So go to tip 1 here for a second, just so we don't have to redo this again because they're going to be the same. I'm just going to copy that. And then go back to step 3 to tip 2, and I'm just going to paste that. And then I will highlight this because we're going to replace this text. And I'm going to go to the storyboard now. And here's the text that we want for tip 2. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it in over this other text. There we go. So we can just pretty much leave it like that. You can make this a little smaller if you want, but I'm just going to leave it the same size. And then the last step here, which we did on the step 2 slide layer for tip 1, we're going to go and right click on tip 2 here, the slide layer here. We're going to go down to properties, and we're going to make sure that hide other slide layers is unchecked so that it'll still show the throw 2 balls slide layer at the same time as someone mouses over the tip box. So that's all we have to do for the tip box. We could go and preview this now and just make sure it does do what it's supposed to. Let's go up here and preview this slide. So when I mouse over that tip box there, you can see that the tip shows in the text box here. So it does work. All right, so now let's go create the throw 2 balls slide layer. Okay, so first we're going to go back to the learning objectives screen because we want to copy in the balls we already created just so we don't have to reinvent them and so that they remain the same size throughout these types of screens. I'm going to copy one at a time the yellow ball and then the green ball. Now, if you copy them both at the same time, it might relabel them in a way that you don't really want. Sometimes I find it relabels them like this one oval 2 and that oval 1, but I want the yellow one to be oval 1. So I'm going to copy that one in first. So then go down here to step 3 and just paste that in. And then go back to the learning objectives screen and copy in the green one. So in this video, we're showing how to throw 2 balls, which is our 3rd step in our process for juggling. So I'm just going to move those balls over to her right and left hands, approximately. So I'm putting the yellow one in her right hand and the green one in her left hand. And now there are some arc motion paths associated with these from that other screen. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to delete everything out just so that we can start fresh so that this is really clear what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to delete all these arc motion paths. Okay, so those are deleted. Now there are some entrance animations here built in from before. So I'm just going to take those off too. So go up here to the entrance animations and I'm going to set them to none. There. So now we're starting fresh just with the 2 balls, and then we're going to add arc motion paths to these. So what we're going to do is we're going to create 8 arc motion paths again, but this time they're going to alternate. So the yellow ball is going to go up in the air and land in her other hand, and then the green ball, and then the yellow ball, and then the green ball. So I'm going to start by just creating the first 4, then we're going to preview it to make sure we're on the right track, and then we'll create the last 4. So I'm going to start by going up here to animations and add arc motion path. And I'm going to move that up here and then move it over so it lines up as best you can with the other hand. And then just so this is going to be easier to see, I'm going to move these over down here as we do them. So that's the first one. And it's going from her right hand to her left hand. Now the second one is going to be the green ball. So we're going to go up here, add arc motion path. All right, so it's going to go from her left hand to her right hand. I'm going to move that over here. So we have right to left, left to right. And remember, it always starts on the green arrow. That's where you're starting from. So that's how you know which direction it's going in. Okay, and then the next one. So now the yellow ball has gone over to her left hand. So we need one that's going to be the reverse. So we're going to have to reverse this one after we create it because it's going to go back. Okay, because she threw this one in the air to the opposite hand. And now we're going to go backwards this way. All right, so then I'm going to reverse that under path options, and then I'm going to move this over. Okay, so it's going that way. And now with the green one, we threw it from the left hand to the right hand. So now this time we're going to throw from the right hand to the left hand, so we will have to reverse this path as well. So now I'm going to reverse that path under path options. And there we go. So just to recap, we have the yellow one, this first one, going from her right hand to her left hand. Then the green one goes from left to right. And then the yellow one goes back from left to right. And the green one goes back to the starting point from right to left. Okay, so now we're going to create cue points in the timeline for these. Now I'm going to extend these out because we're only going to 7 seconds right now. So I'm just going to click on these. So hit Control on your keyboard and then you can highlight both of them. And then we'll just drag this out. So I'm just going to set it to 15 seconds for now. When we insert audio, we might have to tweak this. So I'm going to set the first cue point here at about 6 seconds. Now the reason why I chose 6 is because we want to wait a little time for these text boxes to come in with the audio. So I'm just going to pick this, and I think it's around what we will eventually use. We might have to move it slightly. And the way these balls are going to throw is that one nice thing about using cue points is you can adjust the timing way easier than if you just had to drag the boxes here for oval 1 and oval 2 back and forth to make it so that they would come in at the right times. So with the cue points here, when I set them up, I'm going to have it start at 6 seconds, and then the next ball is going to throw half a second later because these are going up almost at the same time. There's just a slight delay. So it's like the yellow ball goes up, so it's up, up, and then pause, and then up, up, and then pause. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So hit C on your keyboard to create the cue points. And then at 6.5 seconds, we're going to create the next one. So it doesn't have to be totally precise, approximately. Then we're going to wait a little bit longer, so there's going to be a pause in between. So at 7.5 seconds, we'll create the next one. And then at 8 seconds. So those will be the first 4. So they're going to go up, up, pause, up, up, pause. And now we're going to create triggers for these. So I'm going to leave these spread out for now just so we can see this happening when we preview it. So let's go over here. We already have something that's created, so we're just going to adjust these. So move oval 1 on arc motion path 1. So let's go up to the pencil here to edit. When the timeline reaches cue point 1. And then we're going to move oval 2. So we're going to adjust this one here. So go and edit. Oval 2 on arc motion path 2 when the timeline reaches cue point 2. And then back to oval 1 on arc motion path 3. So that's going back here. Edit. Go to when the timeline reaches cue point 3. And then we move oval 2 again. Oval 2 on arc motion path 4 when the timeline reaches cue point 4. All right, and now let's just double check the durations of each of these first before we preview it. So they default to 2 seconds, but I found that it looks better at 1 second. So I'm going to just change that to 1 for each of these. All right, so let's go preview this slide. So we now have to wait for 6 seconds. Okay, I'm just going to replay that because it goes a little fast. So let's just check that one more time. 1, 2, 1, 2. There. All right, so now let's go move these over for the time being while I create the last 4, and then we'll put them back on top of her hands. So just disregard these for a while. Like, I know it's going to look a little messy, but this just helps. I find it helps having them spread out. And if you're ever doing arc motion paths like this, it's always a good idea to kind of spread things out so you can see it first. All right, so now let's create the last 4 arc motion paths. So it's going to be a similar thing that we just did. So I'm going to start with the yellow ball, and we're going to create an arc motion path to go from her right hand to her left hand. And then I'm just going to move that over down here. And that one's going from right to left, so we don't need to reverse that one. Now the green one. So this one's going left to right, and we don't need to reverse that one either. And now go back to the yellow one. And now this one we have to reverse because we want her to throw it in the reverse direction from the left hand to the right hand. And then the green one, the last one here. And this one, again, we have to reverse because the green one's already in the right hand. We have to throw it back. So go and change the direction there. There. So let's just make sure that's correct. So it's basically a repeat of what we just did over on this side, these ones. So right to left, then we have the green one going left to right. And then the yellow one going left to right. And the green one going right to left. So now let's make 4 more cue points in the timeline. So go down here, and now, so we left off at 8 seconds for the last one. So we're going to have a bigger pause. So the next one's going to start at 9 seconds. So put your cursor there and hit C. And then the green ball will come in half a second later. And then we'll pause, and the next one will come in at 10.5 seconds. And the last one will come in at 11 seconds. Okay, so now let's go adjust the cue points for those. So go over here to the right. We're going to move oval 1, so that's the yellow one, on arc motion path 5 this time. Now let's go to edit. Okay, so on arc motion path 5, that's correct. When the timeline reaches cue point 5, and then we go to oval 2, edit. Oval 2 moves an arc motion path 6 when the timeline reaches cue point 6, and then back to oval 1, edit. Arc motion path 7 when the timeline reaches cue point 7, and the last one, move oval 2 on arc motion path 8 when the timeline reaches cue point 8. All right, so those are created. Let's go adjust the durations of each of these like we did for the other 4. So I'm going to just drop those to 1 second. And let's go preview this now the way it is at the moment. All right, so I think it's set properly. We just need to move those over now. Okay, so I'm going to start with the last one here, put that on the bottom. Just going to move over. I don't think it really matters, but I think I just want to do it this way, so I know what order they're in. Try to line it up as best you can. We might come back here and tweak this later, but just to set up this slide for now, I'm just going to eyeball it as best I can. All right, so those are placed on top of each other now on her hands there. So let's go preview that one more time. There we go. So I think that looks pretty good to me. Let's just replay that so you can see. So 1, 2, then back, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it ends up where we started. All right, so in the next video, I'm going to show you how to create step 4, which will be how to throw 3 balls, but non-continuously.